Anime games. Possibly one of the most biggest potential of games that could be hidden, honestly, on some game of the year type of level. Yet, for some reason, they never do. And it's so weird to me, right? We are in a time period where so many games are trying to stand up and do their own thing. And yet, we see all those games, and a lot of them are pretty damn decent. Even though they all look realistic and are practically feeling like the same damn game to me. But when it comes down to things, they all have their own ways of doing things, and they all have their own different ways of being fun and innovative and trying different stuff. But not anime games. Anime games are only good for the minimum level of what they're trying to do. They never really reach out to be something different, especially when it comes to anime adapted games. Because there's some games out there in the anime like style and form that's really damn good. Obviously, like your Personas, your Tales of series, like Visceria. You got your Genshin Impacts, obviously. You have like Danganronpa that's out there. You got your Senran Kagura. You got so many other games that's out there that can do unique and cool things. But for a majority of anime games as a whole, they don't land, and it's so whack. And if they do land, guess what? Everybody forgot about that game 2 weeks later. No one's playing them hoes. And then people be like, wait, what happened there? It's so weird, bro. Bandai Namco is possibly one of the bigger names when it comes to anime games and, creating all them type of things, right? And it's not necessarily surprising why. They do definitely do some decent work. They know how to drop some damn heat at times, like way back in the day. But it ain't way back in the day no more. It's basically a new age of stuff. Why is the anime games we getting now has to be so ass and then not necessarily hidden later after so much time has passed, honestly, right? Concepts that they think is cool and could be cool and potentially awesome, yet don't land the way they honestly should. Jump Force, anybody? The game looked effing hyped as shit when you first saw it, but then when you really play it, wow, this game is ass. Why is the loading screen taking 50 million years? Not all the models look that great. What the hell do they do to sell in them, right? It doesn't come out good. The story mode, basic as shit, like every other effing like big anime game like this, right? Oh, we got clones to deal with for some reason. Or, oh man, something like very generic happens, like every other plot. It just is boring as hell, dude. It literally is boring. No one raises the stakes for the danger of the characters. No one really put them into a new type of situation that they never dealt with before. But they just don't do anything like that. It's why I'm not necessarily excited when an anime were to ever do a crossover with another anime, even though it's rare as hell. When it comes down to things, because it's like, at the end of the day, guess what? There isn't no challenge to these characters. They do some silly ass event, they host a tournament or some shit, and then that's essentially it. No one gets killed or anything like that. No one gets put in their place. Nobody really overpowers another character. No one's okay to do that. Like, it's just so mad boring. And I get it, you don't want your characters to look weak on either side, and most likely the creators of both of those shows don't necessarily want to see that. But at the very same time, put some stakes in with the damn characters. They're handling shit in their own worlds. Why can't they handle something like this together? And then also you gotta think about it too, is that there are so many more anime that's out there that isn't Shonen Jump. Don't get me wrong, Shonen Jump has a lot of popular damn anime. People love the shit out of Shonen Jump. But it's not the only anime like thing that is out there, Like, you have things on the sides that is very different, right? It just doesn't make any type of sense. Yes, we know Demon Slayer has a game and it can be pretty damn amazing looking when it comes to the, visuals and stuff. Dragon Ball Z constantly comes out with new damn games and stuff. But that's all they really be doing though. They be doing the 50 million Dragon Ball Z game, the 50 million Naruto game. And then when they do bring up maybe Shonen Jump games that haven't had anything for a while, or maybe they don't necessarily, be having something and they deserve something, they don't necessarily use them to the fullest. Like, oh my gosh, would it be nice to see a Naruto game that's either a story-driven game that isn't a fighting game, or B, a game or it can be a fighting game, but not like Storm, be something else, right? With its own mechanics and other stuff, right? You did that like a long time ago. You had games like that. Why do you not try anymore? Or Dragon Ball Z, when it comes down to things. Yes, they dropped Fighters and it was a banger, honestly. People love the shit out of that. People still play that shit. And it's amazing, as they should be. But at the end of the day, it's Dragon Ball Z. Do I need to really see a rehash of Kakarot, of the same damn story over and over again? Do I really need to see, Dragon Ball Z characters always be in a fighting game sort of situation? Yeah, sure, they can be, and they do try different stuff with DBZ, but it doesn't necessarily be, hitting a lot of times, or people still end up not necessarily, like, continuing playing it after you finish the story or whatever, right? You gotta have longevity to some of these games, honestly. What about some Bleach games? Bleach games don't necessarily be hidden, and they don't really have a lot, honestly. Same thing with One Piece. One Piece be on the same type of level, honestly. They don't necessarily be hidden with their games, like World Seeker. Anybody remember that garbage, honestly? It's just trash overall. And then you have other shonen IPs, lesser known IPs, and you don't even use those shits. Yeah, maybe people don't know what the hell it is, but that doesn't mean you should just let that IP just stay there and then never use that hoe. That's what made me sick of some of these companies and studios sometimes, because I'm like, damn, would it be nice if Square Enix brought back Brave Fencer Musashi, or the legendary Samurai Musashi from PS2? Or would it be nice if Microsoft made a new Banjo-Kazooie game, or maybe make a new Jak and Daxter game, or Sly Cooper for Sony's side of things? It would be great! They have IPs! Start using them! Stop bringing up new realism shit! You don't need that constantly. You really don't. Show them that every other thing that you have from back in the day can be used for something. Like, damn, would I love to see a Medaka Box fighting game? Holy shit, that would be amazing with all them powers and stuff. Or maybe I would like to see a Yu-Gi-Oh game where you actually have a whole 3D model character like it's some Pokemon Go nonsense, or more so just regular Pokemon, and then you just go around dueling people or some shit like that. That would be amazing, honestly. But do we get that? No, we never get things like that. And it's like, you could do so much. Like, what if we had a Berserk game and it was like Dark Souls? Or what if we had a Baki game, but it was like some old ass WWE wrestling type shit, but in a Baki-like way? It could be so much shit that we have, but we don't ever try. Bandai Namco, and maybe even the creators with the IP, they barely ever give you anything different and just give you the bare minimum to support their game in series, because that's what they feel like it's all that's worth to them when it comes to this type of space, honestly, right? MHA desperately need a game that honestly is really good in a fighting variety, right? We don't need another Justice ass game. We need something like maybe a Fighters or something, maybe along the lines of that, or potentially a Storm-like in some shape and form, but not exactly like Storm, because Jujutsu Kaisen's taking it. But we need something different when it comes to it, or a story-driven MHA game with an original story, right? We could use something like that, but we don't ever get that. And then there's a reason why some people be wondering, why do I only talk about ecchi shows, or think about and watch ecchi shows, or really give a shit about those type of medias and things like that? It's very simple, because honestly, those are the type of things that pushes the media of anime, honestly. Those are the things that challenge the boundaries of what can be crossed and what can't be crossed, honestly. And it's amazing of what they can honestly do. Not even on the lewd aspect, just what can they really push and break the boundaries on, right? Sure, people might not necessarily remember things like Senran Kagura outside of it being like a meme or something like that, or Danganronpa outside of maybe the bear and the damn crazy blonde character, or maybe not necessarily remember other games of that similar caliber. They might remember it vaguely, but they never really, like, do anything of those type of games where they push boundaries or try to show a different side of anime games. Remember Gravity Rush 2? That game was effing epic. And guess what? They never followed up on it. They didn't follow up on it so hard that they destroyed the studio that made that game, meaning we can't get another Gravity Rush game ever again. It doesn't need to be like that. Honestly, a game doesn't need to be realistic, and it doesn't necessarily need to be super like in your feels with the morality and progressivism and all that sort of stuff. You can have a game to be looking fake as shit, yet be carrying the most banger game if you put your heart into making that shit. Which is why I want to talk about one last roadblock that's really effing up every single person and every single Japanese dev that is out there that really wants to bring something to the table. And that is Sony and Microsoft. As a company as a whole, we already know the story with Sony more so when it comes down to things. Due to nonsense that they don't necessarily like in California, they want to start being really racist towards Japanese dev in their games, honestly. They might not tell you straight up automatically, but they will just, tell you that that's just how it is by their actions. And remember what happened in 2019 and what they did? They basically sealed the fate of Senran Kagura by basically removing that shit, their more crazier aspects of the game with like the ecchi stuff and the diorama mode and stuff like that. They basically remove shit like that because it's a fictional ass game and it's created by, people that want to see that type of stuff. And it's just like, no, we can't have that no more. And no one did a thing. And you might be thinking, oh, well, this is just Senran Kagura. It's not that bad. It's just one little lewd, perverted game. Who cares? At the end of the day, guess what? That one little game is the catalyst, the big catalyst for a lot of these other games to start getting basically the same treatment. In fact, anything fictional related to Sony, honestly, if it's within their jurisdiction and control, they won't allow shit, honestly, when it comes to it. Same thing with Doki Doki Literature Club. Was there a reason to change the blood in that game from red to black? Not necessarily. Was it any reason to change the, steam in the damn hot spring area of One Piece World Seeker, I think, with the one scene with Nami and them, with adding more steam? Not necessarily. It wasn't a thing that needed to really be changed or done with that. They are so heavy and focused on pushing their American-made games or games that look American and realistic and all that type of stuff way faster than they will ever be for an anime game. And if we really want to see some change within the anime gaming industry, removing that shit, removing that censorship shit, has to effing go. That is like the first thing that has to effing change. And I know for a fact that nobody is really going to be wanting to fight Sony like that, or make competition to bring up a new console to basically go into the ring of that, honestly. It just is what it is. And I know that there also is like supposed to be this new, I guess, head of the company that's supposed to be running the show. I guess now this new Japanese person, I believe. And even with that, I don't have any faith until I see Sony as a whole, as their whole headquarters, move their ass back to Japan. Because if they don't, honestly, I don't necessarily see any good future for anime games. I'm just going to keep it a stat with you. But like I said, at the end of the day, we really just need more games to do something different and maybe push boundaries, honestly. You may not necessarily, again, remember things like Senran Kagura, Danganronpa, and all these other games, but at the end of the day, people still talk about those games, and those games are still remembered by those sort of people, and even people that maybe vaguely heard about those type of games, those games are still remembered by those people and talked about, unlike J-Stars, Victory Versus, or what other Naruto game is out there that people still play. What, like Shinobi Strikers or something, right? No one really talks about those games anymore. No one does. And it's just like, it's very simple. They don't push a standard. They don't care what they're making. They're just making something for a cheap pop because IP. Look at the crazy Super Saiyan or something like that. And it's so sad. But at the end of the day, that's just essentially how it is, unless people start actually waking the hell up and start making a real deal, change for the standard, honestly, right? You just have to. At least for Sony is trying different things, trying to go out in an open world, maybe a slight type of thing of what they're doing with Strikers, and maybe a little bit of, grid-based battle type thing with Tactica and other stuff. At least they're trying to do some things. There's games that do try, and people will remember those games because they're doing something different. But things like Dragon Ball Z and Shonen games, not necessarily. And it's unfortunate, but that's just literally how it is. So hopefully you did end up enjoying this. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification else. Also follow me on socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Patreon disabled as well. Until then, it's boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.